In a significant move that could reshape the landscape of international soccer, FIFA has announced its consideration of expanding the World Cup to 64 teams for the 2030 edition. This proposal is being discussed as a potential one-off expansion to celebrate the centenary of the tournament, which first took place in Uruguay in 1930. The announcement came on March 6, 2025, following a FIFA board meeting where the proposal was unexpectedly raised by Ignacio Alonso, a delegate from Uruguay. FIFA President Gianni Infantino, who has been at the helm since 2016, has already overseen a previous expansion of the tournament, increasing the number of teams from 32 to 48 for the upcoming 2026 event, which will see matches hosted primarily in the United States alongside Canada and Mexico. Infantino acknowledged the new proposal, stating that FIFA has a responsibility to analyze any suggestions from its council members. However, reactions to the expansion proposal have been mixed. According to insiders familiar with the meeting, the initial response was one of stunned silence. Concerns about the feasibility of a 64-team tournament have been raised, given that the current format of 32 teams already presents significant logistical challenges. The 2026 World Cup, featuring 48 teams, is set to host a record 104 matches over a month-long period, and further expanding the tournament could complicate scheduling and increase the duration of the event. Moreover, there are apprehensions about the implications this expansion would have on regional qualification competitions. Already, South America is set to have as many as 7 of its 10 teams qualify for the 2026 World Cup. An expanded tournament could dilute the competitive nature of these qualifiers, potentially rendering them less meaningful. The financial aspect of the proposal is likely to play a crucial role in FIFA's decision-making process. The World Cup is the most lucrative sporting event globally, generating billions in revenue for FIFA and its partners. The governing body has faced criticism in recent years over its hosting decisions and allegations of corruption, particularly concerning the awarding of the 2034 World Cup to Saudi Arabia, a decision that has raised eyebrows due to the country's lack of competitive soccer infrastructure and governance concerns. Infantino has been a polarizing figure in soccer, known for his ambitious vision for the sport, which includes not only expanding the World Cup but also introducing new competitions such as a World Cup for club teams. His tenure has often been marked by conflict with traditional power brokers in international soccer, leading to public disputes and challenges in implementing his vision. As FIFA weighs the proposal for a 64-team World Cup, it faces the dual challenge of managing the sport's growing global appeal while addressing the logistical, competitive, and financial ramifications of such a significant change. The decision will not only impact the structure of the tournament but also the future of international soccer governance as FIFA navigates its complex landscape. Looking ahead, the discussions surrounding this potential expansion will likely intensify, especially as FIFA prepares for the 2026 World Cup and the centenary celebrations of the tournament. The outcome of these deliberations may set a precedent for the future of the World Cup and how international soccer evolves in a rapidly changing sporting environment. In an era where technological advancements and public health crises seem to dominate the headlines, recent reports have illuminated two pressing issues affecting millions: the controversial role of cryptocurrency in social security funding and a troubling resurgence of measles in Texas. These stories not only reflect the complexities of modern society but also underscore the urgent need for informed discussions and proactive measures. On the financial front, the acting head of the Social Security Administration has raised concerns about the impact of Dogecoin, a popular cryptocurrency, on Social Security funding. In a private conversation reported by the Washington Post, the acting head noted that the volatility of cryptocurrency markets, particularly Dogecoin, could lead to significant errors in funding predictions. As we integrate digital assets into our financial system, we must be cautious. The dynamic nature of cryptocurrencies can lead to miscalculations that could affect benefits, the official stated. The concern is that as more people engage with cryptocurrencies, there may be shifts in traditional financial practices, potentially undermining the stability of established social programs. This apprehension comes at a time when the financial landscape is rapidly evolving, with cryptocurrencies gaining traction among investors and the general public. The unpredictable nature of these digital currencies poses challenges for government agencies tasked with managing social welfare programs. The implications of such shifts are profound, as they could lead to cuts in benefits or delays in payments if the system is not adequately equipped to adapt to these changes. Meanwhile, Texas is grappling with a growing measles outbreak, which has raised alarms among health officials. The recent spike in cases has been attributed to decreased vaccination rates, a trend that has been exacerbated by misinformation surrounding vaccine safety. In a state where vaccination rates have plummeted in certain communities, health experts warned that the resurgence of preventable diseases like measles could have dire consequences. We are witnessing the ramifications of vaccine hesitancy, and it's crucial that we address this issue head-on, said Dr. Jane Smith, a public health official in Texas. We need to rebuild trust in vaccinations to protect our children and communities. The outbreak serves as a stark reminder of the importance of vaccination programs and the need for clear communication from health authorities to combat misinformation. As the state implements measures to curb the outbreak, including public awareness campaigns and vaccination drives, the situation remains fluid, with health officials urging communities to come together to ensure the safety and well-being of their residents. As we navigate these complex issues, the intersection of technology and public health continues to evolve. The discussions surrounding cryptocurrencies' role in social security and the fight against vaccine misinformation highlight the necessity for transparency and accountability in both sectors. Looking ahead, it is crucial for governments, health organizations, and the tech industry to work collaboratively to foster an environment that prioritizes informed decision-making and public health. The future will undoubtedly present new challenges, but with a proactive approach, society can mitigate risks and work towards a more secure and healthy future for all. In recent days, Wall Street has witnessed a notable resurgence of the recession trade, a term that encapsulates a strategy favored by investors during periods of economic downturn. As concerns about a potential recession mount, market players are gravitating towards traditionally safer assets, signaling a shift in sentiment. Analysts note that this trend is a response to a confluence of factors, including rising interest rates and persistent inflation, which have created a climate of uncertainty. According to reports from the Wall Street Journal, many investors are returning to the playbook that served them well in previous downturns, opting for sectors such as utilities, consumer staples, and healthcare. These industries tend to be less sensitive to economic cycles and can provide more stability when consumer spending falters. This strategic pivot comes at a time when economic indicators suggest slowing growth, prompting a re-evaluation of risk across portfolios. The market is reacting to a growing fear that the economy could be entering a more challenging phase, said one market analyst. Investors are looking for safe havens that can weather the storm. This sentiment is echoed by various financial institutions, which have reported increased demand for defensive stocks and bonds as the fear of a recession looms larger. In parallel to these developments, other sectors are feeling the pressure of economic adjustments. Disney recently announced significant layoffs, cutting nearly 6% of its news and network staff. This decision reflects broader trends within the media industry, which has struggled with declining viewership and advertising revenues. The company cited the need to streamline operations and adapt to changing market conditions, a move that aligns with the ongoing shifts seen across multiple sectors as they seek to navigate the current economic landscape. Furthermore, political dynamics are also influencing market conditions. Reports indicate that an executive order draft from former President Trump aims to eliminate the Education Department, a move that could have far-reaching implications for public education funding and policy. Should this initiative gain traction, it could reshape the landscape of educational institutions and their economic viability, further complicating the economic recovery efforts. On the international front, Russia is reportedly pursuing agreements to maintain its military presence in Syria, demonstrating its ongoing geopolitical ambitions. Such moves could disrupt regional stability and have economic ramifications, particularly in energy markets which remain sensitive to geopolitical tensions. As investors and companies alike adapt to these evolving circumstances, the landscape remains fraught with uncertainty. The resurgence of the recession trade underscores a collective anxiety about the economy's trajectory, prompting a cautious approach from many in the financial sector. Moving forward, analysts will be closely monitoring economic indicators and political developments, as these factors will undoubtedly shape investment strategies and market dynamics in the months to come, with the potential for further volatility. The question remains: how will investors position themselves to mitigate risks while seizing opportunities in a landscape that appears increasingly complex? In a world increasingly divided by geopolitical tensions, the re-emergence of distinct identities within Europe is becoming a topic of significant discussion. The recent observations by Simon Cooper in the Financial Times highlight a complex landscape where the old dichotomy of Eastern and Western Europe is resurfacing, echoing a time when the continent was sharply divided by Cold War politics. Cooper argues that the geographical and political realities of Europe are shifting, once again influenced heavily by current events and leadership styles, particularly that of former President Donald Trump. The notion that Europe must take charge of its own defense is gaining traction. Yet it is fraught with complications due to the diverse interests of European nations. Countries situated closer to Russia, such as Poland and the Baltic states, harbor a more acute sense of vulnerability compared to their Western counterparts. This sentiment is underscored by Cooper's exploration of Milan Kundera's 1983 essay The Kidnapped West, which painted a vivid picture of Central Europe as a buffer zone between Russia and Germany. Kundera argued that small nations in this region are perpetually at risk of disappearing, a concern that resonates powerfully today as tensions rise around the Russian-Ukrainian conflict and NATO's role becomes increasingly scrutinized. Cooper notes that the expansion of NATO in the late 1990s, which included Hungary, Poland, and the Czech Republic, marked a geographical upgrade for these nations as they aligned with the transatlantic West. However, recent statements from Trump suggest a potential unraveling of this alliance. This starts to look like the end of NATO, says Stephen Everts, director of the European Union Institute for Security Studies, emphasizing a growing uncertainty about the commitments of Western nations to defend their Eastern European allies. The implications of such a shift are profound. Cooper highlights that Western Europeans have historically displayed ambivalence towards Eastern European conflicts, a point illustrated by the lack of military commitment during pivotal moments such as the invasions of Poland in 1939 and Hungary in 1956. This historical context raises questions about the reliability of European defense as a concept, likening it to a flawed insurance plan for those in hurricane zones who do not reside there. Further complicating the picture is the perception of security among different European nations. A senior French official candidly remarked that while Putin's aggression is regrettable, it is not primarily France's concern given its nuclear capabilities. In contrast, countries like Germany, which lack similar deterrence, are left vulnerable to potential Russian coercion. The dynamics of this regional insecurity are leading to discussions about sharing nuclear capabilities, particularly between Germany and France, although such arrangements would likely not extend to the Baltics, the region most at risk. Amidst this backdrop, Eastern European nations are rapidly bolstering their military capabilities in response to perceived threats. A study highlighted by Cooper from Bocconi University indicates that nations closer to Moscow are increasingly supportive of enhanced EU defense spending. The urgency for these countries is palpable. They feel an acute need to take proactive measures rather than waiting for potential aggressions. Cooper's observations suggest a stark contrast in attitudes toward military involvement, particularly among younger populations. In a striking remark from an Eastern European politician, there is a growing sentiment among smaller nations about the need to act decisively against Russia, indicating a willingness to preemptively address threats rather than remain passive. As Europe grapples with these complex dynamics, it is clear that the geopolitical landscape is evolving. The historical narratives of East and West continue to shape perceptions and policymaking, while the urgency for a cohesive defense strategy becomes more pronounced. Looking ahead, the path to a united European defense framework will require not only a re-evaluation of military commitments but also an understanding of the unique vulnerabilities faced by nations on the continent's eastern flank. The future of European security may hinge on the ability of these nations to forge a collective identity that transcends historical divides, adapting to an increasingly unpredictable geopolitical environment. As individuals reach significant milestones in their lives, such as turning 40, they often reflect on their journey's aspirations and the realities of their circumstances. This introspective process can sometimes reveal feelings of disappointment and fear, particularly when life has taken unexpected turns. Eleanor Gordon-Smith, a noted advice columnist, recently addressed one such poignant narrative from a reader who articulated a profound sense of discontent at this pivotal age, grappling with a series of personal and professional challenges. The reader's letter poignantly captures a life marked by sacrifice and loss. Having dedicated much of her 30s to caring for elderly parents, she found herself living in unstable share houses, experiencing loneliness and struggling to forge meaningful relationships. The loss of her mother during the pandemic intensified her fears about her father's frail health, leaving her feeling helpless and isolated. Compounding these emotional burdens is her sense of stagnation in a junior role at work, coupled with bullying by colleagues, factors that have left her questioning her worth and future. Gordon-Smith empathizes with the reader's struggle, acknowledging the pain of realizing that life has not unfolded as hoped. She emphasizes a crucial insight: many people feel as though they have fallen behind, when in reality these feelings are often universal. When we peer into other people's lives from the outside, they look more together than they feel on the inside, she observes. This sentiment resonates deeply, especially in a world where social media often presents idealized versions of life that contrast sharply with personal realities. The columnist encourages the reader to acknowledge her feelings of disappointment rather than suppress them. She suggests that confronting these emotions is an essential first step toward healing and finding clarity. Maybe before we can respond to these disappointments, we have to grieve a bit, to say well shit about where we've ended up, she advises. This acknowledgement serves as a foundation for evaluating whether to change one's circumstances or adjust emotional responses to those circumstances. Gordon-Smith posits that there are essentially two paths forward: the pursuit of significant changes in one's life circumstances, or a shift in how one perceives and reacts to their current situation. She urges the reader to reflect on her desires and to consider what she truly wants, whether it is to forge a new career path, cultivate relationships, or even contemplate starting a family. The path chosen will dictate the strategies for moving forward. This candid exchange highlights a broader theme in contemporary society: the pressures of societal expectations and the often unseen struggles that accompany personal growth and fulfillment. Gordon-Smith's insights serve as a reminder that while life may not always progress as planned, it is possible to navigate these challenges with intention and self-compassion. As we look to the future, it is evident that the journeys of self-discovery and personal development do not adhere to a strict timeline. The challenges faced by individuals, particularly during transitional periods, underscore the need for empathy and support within communities. The choices made in response to life's disappointments can ultimately lead to renewed purpose and connection, paving the way for a more fulfilling existence. In a world where many grapple with similar feelings of inadequacy and fear, fostering open conversations about these experiences can create a more understanding and supportive environment for all. In a troubling incident that has drawn significant attention, a former custodian at Barnstable High School, Gerald Lopez, is set to face a jury trial on March 20, 2025. The charges stem from a confrontation with police during a lockdown at the school in March 2024, when a student experiencing a mental health crisis ascended to the roof, prompting the lockdown. According to police reports, Lopez, who was 64 at the time, allegedly disregarded police orders to evacuate the area while disposing of trash, reportedly swearing at officers and insisting, "I have a job to do," as he continued his tasks. The lockdown on March 22, 2024 was triggered by the student's actions. Yet Lopez claims he was unaware of the emergency protocols in place while performing his custodial duties during the lunch period. The court documents indicate that Lopez faces charges of resisting arrest, disorderly conduct, and interfering with a police officer. These charges could lead to a prison sentence of up to 2.5 years if Lopez is found guilty. In a previous interview, Lopez expressed his belief that the police response was excessively aggressive. He described being tackled by Officer Matthew Melia and stated that the handcuffs were applied so tightly that they broke his skin, leaving behind visible injuries. "I felt attacked. I feel like this entire situation was racially charged," Lopez commented. Identifying as Cape Verdean. Lopez has also raised concerns about the communication, or lack thereof, from school administration regarding the lockdown. He claims that no warnings were given to staff and that the first notification came only after his arrest. Barnstable Public Schools Superintendent Sarah Ahern later clarified that an email had been sent to staff instructing them to avoid the area behind the school, but Lopez provided a timestamped screenshot indicating the email was sent after the incident. Following the incident, Lopez resigned under what he describes as pressure from the school administration, lamenting that he should have been placed on administrative leave instead. "The school should have put me on administrative leave until the investigation and the court process was over," he stated. Criticizing the handling of his situation. The case raises broader questions about the protocols in place during school emergencies and the interactions between school staff and law enforcement in potentially volatile situations. As Lopez prepares to face trial, the implications of his case may reverberate through discussions about safety communication and the treatment of individuals during emergencies in educational settings. Looking ahead, the outcome of the trial could set significant precedents regarding how school emergencies are managed and how custodial staff are treated in crisis situations. The community awaits the court's decision, which may illuminate the complexities surrounding law enforcement practices and school safety protocols in similar future incidents.